I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
Gentlemen, welcome in. We're halfway through the first 4 scheduled games of Summer League. A lot more to discuss off what we saw late Saturday night and then back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday this week. So it's been fun getting a look at some of these younger players for the Wolves. We can touch on some of the A-Rod Laurie introductory press conference from late last week as well here. But, Judd, there's nothing like sinking your teeth into a parlor burger. I know there's other things that you probably want to talk about with parlor, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly right. And if you have not done so, gotten that opportunity, let me tell you right now, the parlor burger, absolutely fantastic. But now you're saying, okay, Sports Dad, that's great. Where can I find parlors? And you know that you can find one in the North Loop. You know that you can find one down West 7th, not too far from the X, soon to be something else. But how about this one? You also can find the fantastic parlor burger and their great service in Excelsior. That's right, West Metro, I'm talking to you. That's right, where Sports Dad, the area he grew up, guess what? They now have a parlor bar. So if you're going for, I don't know, a day on the lake or to sightsee, parlor is going to take care of you. The burger, fantastic. I've been telling you guys for a long time. Chicken sandwich is great too. The parlor, their craft cocktails, a great list of drinks, and also great service. Parlor, check them out in Excelsior and find out why it's so good.
I'm going to bring to you guys here Phil's Summer League notes. Late at night on a Saturday, just hammering out handwritten notes, just like Judd's camp notes, and then transferring over to a digital file. And just get your guys' thoughts on these observations too. Number one, I think the number one headline from the first 2 games of Summer League, and especially on Saturday night, and I'm going to start calling him TJ Shannon from now on because that's what he wants to go by. And there's some announcers, like the Summer League announcers, were calling him Terrence Shannon Jr. The Wolves kind of dropped some hints in the second half of the season that he wants to go by TJ Shannon.
Okay.
And when Matt Lloyd, the general manager of the Wolves, joined the broadcast on Saturday night, it was almost like he was correcting the announcers when they would ask about Terrence Shannon, and he would respond with, yes, TJ Shannon is... Talk about Terrence Shannon Jr. in that first half. Yes, TJ Shannon had a great first half. So, okay, we get the message. They would like it to be TJ Shannon. But my first note is that he's too good for Summer League, and that's exactly the conclusion that you wanted to come to by putting him in Summer League games. Because I think some of us were kind of wondering, all right, he was kind of on the fringe of your playoff rotation. He showed some major signs. How many playoff rotation guys are playing in Summer League? And there's a smattering of them across the teams. So, all right, go dominate Summer League. Go score a bunch of points, be a playmaker. And, I mean, just the relentless downhill pressure that he generates in transition in the half court.
Yep.
He's clearly hoisting up threes to try and get a feel for his three-point shot, too, which can be a little inconsistent. He shot 14 threes in addition to some of the other stuff. But downhill pressure on offense. He's a big body on defense, and he's learning. I don't think you're not going to throw him in there, and he's immediately going to be what Nickeil Alexander-Walker was. But you can see a defensive vision there, too. And then the shooting and the playmaking that's kind of coming in some spurts, too. He's clearly the best player on the court over the first 2 games of Wolves Summer League. And that's exactly what you wanted to see.
I was, on one hand, surprised by how much he played on Saturday. And I texted you guys this, too. But as you watched him play, and just from a 10,000-foot view, as you watch this team play, because ordinarily this whole thing is a hodgepodge, right? Guys trying to potentially get invited to training camp. You don't play guys like TJ. But as I texted you, I felt that you sort of saw the vision of the purpose of this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Wolves clearly have, and this is probably Conley, but the Wolves clearly have a vision of what they want to get out of this, and they're getting it. And so, yes, he is the best player, but I don't think there's anything wrong with a guy dominating. And before everyone says you're a hypocrite, Sports Dad, a hypocrite.
Yeah,
you do not like guys
you don't want to
playing
take on the injury risk,
right?
you
Let
coward.
let me say this again. In a situation like this where he's playing for, first of all, his team, so his team wants to see him, and second of all, he's young and he can. This experience is helping him. So I'm super impressed, but I feel like there's also a ton of tweets about, okay, that's enough. Sit him down now, blah, blah, blah. I get this. I get it, and I applaud it, and I like it. And I think I think this is going to end up being a very important step in his development. And as we talked about last week after the first game, too, you know what this is? This is Tim Connelly, in my opinion, saying to Chris Finch, watch him.
Yeah.
You're courtside. You don't have any, there's no pressure here. You're not trying to win games. You are literally a basketball fan. Watch him.
Also, TJ Shannon doesn't seem like a guy who lacks confidence, certainly basketball confidence. So I don't know that you need to use this as an opportunity to pump some confidence. There's some players where it's like, dude, just be a little more aggressive, be a little more confident, and just go out there and own it. You don't need to tell him that or teach him that. But if you're looking for that final piece of confidence to become a 20-minute a night NBA rotation guy on a team that aspires to make a playoff run, doing this in front of these arenas are pretty small, especially Cox Pavilion. Everyone's kind of on top of each other. It's hot. And you got A-Rod, and you got Matt Lloyd, your general manager, and Tim Connelly, and Chris Finch, and Anthony Edwards, and Naz Reid. You're throwing down a ridiculous fast break. I can't remember if it was half court, but that hammer dunk, he just cuts right into the lane and throws that hammer dunk down. And there's Anthony Edwards there to dap you up as you go back to the other side. How can you not feel after 2 games if you're TJ Shannon, okay, if there was any question, I have graduated from here. I'll still play, the last couple games, whatever they want me to do.
Right.
But I've graduated based on the spurts in the playoffs and dominating Summer League. And not to get too far ahead of myself, you're positive, Phil. But is it fair to say, because the task here is to replace Nickeil Alexander-Walker and his productivity, the energy he brings on defense. He's a little sporadic on offense, but he can shoot threes. He can score a little bit. You're trying to replace that. And when I look at TJ Shannon and I look at Jalen Clark more as a defensive player, I think TJ Shannon is already a more well-rounded, better offensive player than Nickeil. If you gave TJ Shannon 15, 20, 25 minutes consistently, I think he would score as many or more points and more efficiently as Nickeil did. Nickeil he's a three-point shooter, and he can do some other things. There's a little bit of a mid-range game there, but TJ Shannon has a multi-level offensive game. I wouldn't be would it shock you if TJ Shannon dropped 30 points in a regular season NBA game next year?
No.
Yeah, me either. It would legitimately shock me to see, and maybe he did it at one point, I don't remember, but Nickeil is not a guy that you're going to be, that guy might go off for 32 points tonight. I actually think TJ Shannon could do that next year in an NBA regular season game.
To go back to the word that you used, what I would be curious, because Na had this problem, is the consistency. It felt Nickeil would go through spurts where he was phenomenal and just incredibly valuable. And then he would go through spurts where it didn't go down for him. So, but TJ Shannon brings, in my opinion, on the 2024-25 Wolves, he is among the top 3 players on that team already when it comes to immediate energy, which is what I love. Because, this team, the starters sometimes, Ant aside, but they didn't necessarily always have that, right? Mm-hmm. And TJ Shannon would come in and just provide an immediate shot of, okay, I'm go. Now, the interesting thing there, though, is what we're seeing in these games is, I think if you're Chris Finch, you're okay, that's great if it works, but are you playing out of control? And what we're seeing here is, no, he's not. He looks very much in control. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that this whole thing, I think he's playing in these games not to pump up his stats, but to actually show Finch and Conley as well that this is a legitimate fit and a guy that deserves substantial playing time next season.
Yeah, I think to finish the Nickeil, because you're trying to replace Nickeil, and Nickeil was a huge key piece to you going to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. But I think if given some time here over a full season, maybe into the next season, so over the next, let's say 18 months, and maybe very soon, I think there's a world where TJ Shannon is a better offensive contributor than Nickeil was. And I also think there's a world where Jalen Clark is equal or a better defender than Nickeil Alexander-Walker was on rookie scale contracts, like late first and second round contracts. So that's the vision here as Chris Finch during game one is sitting there on the broadcast talking about expanding his rotation to 9 or 10. It really requires both of these guys, TJ Shannon and Jalen Clark, to combine to fill the role that Nickeil played last year. So observation number 2 from these Summer League notes. Rob Dillingham showed his full bag in that game. And the whole night, I was just like, every time something good or bad happened, I just made a note of what it was and like where it was in the game. And there was only like 1 or 2 bad things. There was a couple kind of sloppy passes. He took a heat check toward the end of the first quarter. He took a heat check, contested pull-up 3 that either airballed or got blocked. It might have gotten tipped as he was shooting it. But right away, you saw the lob to Béranger. You saw him coming off a little pick and roll, like elbow extended, and knocking down a jumper. He hits a 3-pointer off a pick and roll, like all in the first quarter, just showing off a little mid-range game, couple nice passes, the lob chemistry to your bigs. There was, I don't know if you remember in the third quarter when Rocco Zakarski was out there, who's a fun player to watch. This 18-year-old Australian kid.
Both those big men are. But
they ran like this little give and go on the baseline, and it wound up being Dillingham assisting to Rocco Zakarski for a little baseline jam. But just like a really nice, even keel effort. It looked like he was, I think somebody might have talked to him between the first couple of games and said, like, dude, just, okay. I know Leonard Miller wasn't in the right spot a couple times in the first game, but just like, you don't need to be threading the needle to Leonard Miller. Like some of that is on the point guard. I know we're reading the comments on these episodes. It was Leonard Miller's fault, 3 of those turnovers. Okay, but as a point guard, if you know that he's not picking things up or not in the right spot, you don't need to thread a bounce pass needle in traffic to a guy. Some of this is like being a responsible driver of the offense. Yeah. And it just looked like he was much more in control. And some guys were knocking down shots, getting him some assists that maybe he didn't get in the first game. And you can see the offensive game there too. So I'm curious to see at least a couple more games of Dillingham to see what does the body of work look like in Summer League.
I think the consistency is the most important thing. I think he needs to play, especially with his position, he needs to play under control more consistently. But then he's also going to be a guy that as we get into the season, like you're going to have to play him to find out, and he's going to have to learn at times. Like on TJ Shannon, I'm pretty confident he can step in opening night next season and be pretty consistent and be a guy who is very valuable off your bench. Dillingham, unfortunately, in some ways, is also going to have to be a guy who just develops that because the position is so important. And I think just like in football, guys, the ball is the program. So he's going to have to, you can't afford to make a pass and say, well, the guy was in the wrong place. That's like a quarterback. It's like, okay, but it's partially on you as well. So I'm more of a wait and see there, but game 2 was a major step up because game 1 was ugly. Game 2 definitely had more highlights for him.
Yeah. It'll help him a lot too to play, if they give him this leeway to play with way better players. I feel like in some ways, I mean, everyone's going to be better with Anthony Edwards on the court and some of the players the Wolves have, but TJ Shannon can kind of create his own force in ways as a bigger 6'6" guy, right? Dillingham needs a little more space to operate, and it's hard to get that space when you are the guy that they are trying to stop in Summer League because you're the primary ball handler. They're trying to stop you and TJ Shannon basically in Summer League. They're game planning for it. But if and when he's out there with Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid is an offensive force, right? And Julius Randle like draws attention. It loosens things up. The spacing is going to be a little bit different with some of these lineups. So I think the Wolves need to see enough of Dillingham in Summer League to trust him. It's like, this is level 1.
Right.
Doesn't have to be perfect, but let's see enough to where we trust putting you in maybe once again as a backup to Mike Conley, who's going to have limited minutes. Do we trust to put you in for 15 or 20 minutes with better players? And then what does that look like?
Mike Conley's most important job, I think, this coming season will not necessarily be on the floor. It will be essentially being the personal coach to Rob. Like, I think that's going to be the most important thing, because that experience and that amount of been there, done that, that's good. There's nobody else, I don't think, on the roster or coaching staff that can basically interpret things and talk to him and help him. So like Conley to me is a valuable roster spot based on that alone.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm not like panicky or not like jumping the gun on what Dillingham has shown you, or maybe lack of thereof, is like what he showed you in his rookie year and what he's showing you in summer league. And even though Conley, he's too old, he's an awesome dude off the court. He was still at times productive, and it's not. Yes, the Wolves could probably use an evolution or an upgrade at the point guard position, and it'd be great if it was someone that you traded up for and drafted and cultivated. I love all that, but it's not like they need that to hit tomorrow. Like, this team went to the Western Conference Finals back-to-back years with an older Mike Conley. So that's where, like, the patience level, I think, with Dillingham here is really important, and not freaking out that, he looks bad in the first Summer League game, or he's turning the ball over. Like, this is a position where they're going to be, I think, okay with letting that take some time.
Yeah, there's definitely there's a step between never playing, period, for large chunks of last year, and being like a 30-minute starting player for this team. And like, you need to see him step into that. What's that next step? And do they trust him? So, and then the other category here in my notes from Saturday night was just the Béranger category. Just how, dude, he is crazy athletic, and I thought he was going to be a little easier to push around as an 18-year-old. I thought he'd be a little more wiry, just a little. His lower body, again, it's a force. Don't skip uppers day. Don't skip arm day.
Right.
He'll build some more strength up top, but the way that he jumps and aggressively grabs rebounds, just like the slapping of the ball as he's elevating head and shoulders above all the other players who are jumping, just continues to be. And then how reliable he is catching passes around the rim, throwing down the lob in the first minute of that game on Saturday. Just he's been very reliable and instinctive offensively and defensively around the rim in the painted area for an 18-year-old who didn't even play basketball 5 years ago.
That's what I was going to say. How much of an unpolished product? I mean, he's not polished yet, and he does a lot well. And he's actually, he plays pretty smart. Like, for a guy who has not been around basketball, he seems to have a fairly high basketball IQ. I think one of the things I'm most excited about, though, in the two games so far, though, is watching the two young big men play. Like, you can totally see the Gobert succession plan now. And Béranger, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'll go back to what I said when we talked about him after the first game. That dude is spry. He does not move like he's huge. He gets rebounds because he is. But look at the footwork. And as you just said, Phil, the hands. The hands. So when Gobert's gone, the mallets are gone. Like, this dude's got hands. And again, he's 18, 4 years of basketball.
Yeah.
And I love the whole thing about the clandestine Chicago workout and the Wolves being very quiet, and sort of the Tim Conley operates in the shadows. You know, this is very Conley-like, and it's why he is a very good executive.
Yeah. Yeah, like, the other thing I saw, somebody was doing a sit-down interview with him. He's done quite a bit of media in the last week, but someone sat down with him in Vegas and asked him about his hobbies. Like, what do you like to do outside of basketball? And he basically said, there is nothing outside of basketball. Basketball is my hobby. I am obsessed with basketball. And
cool.
I think it's great to hear that. He seems like a mature, older soul 18-year-old too. I don't know, maybe it's just like his French demeanor. And then the other thing, just to point out here, I feel like we're being bullied into an incorrect pronunciation of his last name. So you've heard us saying Béranger on this episode after saying Béranger or Béranger in previous episodes. And you guys have hammered us in the comments section. People on Twitter hammering us. The announcers, the NBA TV announcers were saying Béranger. And I just pulled up the press release again when the Wolves introduced him to the local media. And in the first paragraph, they give the pronunciation guide, and they had him say it as well on a social media video. And you got the same thing, Judd. In the pronunciation guide, it is Yawan B-E-E, Bonj.
Bonj.
And when they had him say his name on like a social media video, I believe he said Bonj. And maybe there's a little French lost in translation there, but so you guys can say Bonj.
We'll figure it out.
And the announcers can say Bonj, and the commenters, you can hammer us for being idiots for not knowing how to pronounce it. We are the ones going off of the official pronunciation that they sent to us, which is Bonj. And it's the way that he said it in a social media video. I just want to make that clear. Okay.
I believe the analyst on NBA TV on Saturday called him Behringer at one point, like Tom. I'm not going to apologize.
Yeah. What are we doing there? Behringer.
That's Behringer's really good.
So I feel like we're being bullied a little bit here for maybe being in the right with this pronunciation. But we'll see. This has happened with athletes before, where like someone comes in. Right.
Well, some of these kids don't mind too. They're like, however you want to pronounce it, I don't care.
Just call me Bob. Doesn't matter. Call me Joan.
Bear.
Dillingham was calling him Joan. The bear. Yeah, the bear.
The bear.
The way he grabs those rebounds, man.
Yep.
Big very bear-like. So just some observations off the second Summer League game. The Wolves are looking great in the areas that you would hope that they do. Let's touch on a couple things from the A-Rod Laurie press conference here in a moment. Thank you to everyone who's clicked the like and the subscribe button on the Flagrant Howls YouTube channel. We're almost to 6,000 subscribers in just the first 6 weeks of launching this new channel. So thank you, Timberwolves fans, Flagrant Howls listeners, and viewers. Click that subscribe button, the like button. On the audio side, Apple and Spotify, a 5-star rating and a positive review helps us keep growing this awesome community. So appreciate you. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, also keeping the lights on here at Flagrant Howls Place. Judd?
Definitely. And if you're thinking about going ductless, call MSP. They're a Mitsubishi Elite Diamond contractor for ductless. If you have an older home with no ductwork, guess what? No problem. MSP specializes in smart and efficient ductless installs. These systems aren't cheap, so you want to have it done right, and MSP will help you make the best decision for your home and for your budget. They have been serving the Twin Cities for more than 100 years. Local, trusted, and committed to your comfort. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Check out their website, call msp.com, or give them a call, 651-615-4292 for all your plumbing, heating, and air needs.
I would say the three main themes from the A-Rod Laurie press conference a few days ago was the announcement of their ticket app called Jump, founded by Laurie, A-Rod, and then is it Jordy Leeser, the co-founder and CEO? He runs Jump, where the main hook for this is it'll allow you, if someone in a great seat leaves the game early and you have a nosebleed seat or something and you want to go sit courtside for the fourth quarter of a game that you otherwise would not have maybe afforded or bought a ticket to, it's like a secondary market within the actual game. Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting to see. In the old days, you just snuck your way over there, but
that's right.
Probably tougher to do that for the premium seats.
Yes.
I don't know logistically how this is all going to work, but jump.com is the website for this new ticket app, and there's a bunch of information. That was interesting. They want to do the Madison Square Garden. Is it called stage or theater lighting or whatever?
Theater lighting, yeah. Which the Lakers have as well at the old Staples. I forget. Crypto. Is it Crypto Arena now?
It's Crypto now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, yes.
And then some more chatter about just A-Rod making it clear that, a new arena is going to be a necessity at some point. So what all stood out to you, A-Rod and Laurie talking to the media in Vegas for the first time since becoming actual owners?
I thought the thing that stood out, it's not surprising, but the Strib, Chris Hine wrote a ton about it on Sunday, was the amount of stress and emotional damage that both of them talked about from Glenn trying to rescind the sale, and the dynamic of how this went from being a really fun experience to sort of it being hell, and they didn't talk about it publicly because that obviously at the time makes no sense. I just thought that was a really interesting tentacle of this entire thing. And I mean, they both now I read the quotes, okay? I didn't see their reactions, but it sounded like it was a pretty sincere, like this was really a dynamic that made this not as much fun.
Yeah.
And one of them, A-Rod, I think it was, said there were times that I thought about, screw it, but then they supported each other, blah, blah, blah. Now, here's where I'm curious, though, okay? Because I've been saying this for a long time. The curiosity that I have is this. Because they are bound and determined to tell you that they are partners, that they are, that they're supportive, blah, blah, blah. But, in things like this, if things go sideways at times, and they will, like things always do in sports, and that could be the team on the court, it could be the arena, what's that continuity like? Because we've seen this before where guys come in and they're like, we are a team, and then eventually it evolves and evaporates. I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but I am curious to see, like at the end of the day, and this is a few years down the road, where this lands. And especially, it's one thing to say we will build an arena, but we've talked about this, Phil. There's so many things to getting this done. There's land, there's roads, there's if you want to have like a Wolves Village and things like that. So just from a starting point, I thought that was intriguing to read about.
Yeah, it is, like they're banking a lot, the way that this is sort of set up, they're banking a lot on the 50-50 and ego-free decision-making process. And they've been friends outside of this process for many years before they entered the Timberwolves fray 4 years ago. So like it's worked very well up to this point. But there's a lot of big things on the horizon. It's when they took over as minority owners 4 years ago, there was very little organizational pressure or fan pressure because at that time, the Timberwolves had made the playoffs like once in 15 years, essentially. The 2018 or 17 run, whenever that was, with Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns. But now you've built up, 4 straight playoff appearances, including 2 trips to the Western Conference Finals, and you're essentially halfway through the 8-year period that KG was going to the playoffs back in the day. And fans, especially who remember that era, don't want this thing to be squandered, the Anthony Edwards era. So I think there's more pressure. Not that it's certainly not like New York, Boston levels of,
right,
or Lakers. Like if you don't win a championship immediately, then the media and the fans are going to turn. I think it's a very happy time to be following this Timberwolves team. And that Anthony Edwards is still probably like 2 years away from his peak version.
Yep.
So like immediately, it's still very much a honeymoon period. It's very much kumbaya. There's no pressure to do anything rash. But at some point, when you have a player like Anthony Edwards, people are going to get pissed if you lose in the second round next year. Like people are going to be unhappy versus, oh, this is great. We're finally going to the playoffs on a regular basis. They haven't felt that yet.
What was your take on the Kevin Garnett stuff, which sounded like I assumed like it would almost be immediate, and they're like, no, it's still like we're working on that. Like it wasn't what I expected.
The exchange between Mark and Alex was super interesting when that question was asked. Now, I had heard a couple years ago that Alex was putting in at least some work behind the scenes. I don't know the full details, but that there was at least some sort of overtures or connection, they've known each other for 30 years, going back to the 90s. But when the reporter asked that question about KG, they both kind of smirked, and Laurie kind of looked over at Alex and said, "Do you want to take that one?" And then Alex gave a very high-level sort of corporate response of,
right.
The way he phrased it, though, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, clearly it's something that the fans are very interested in, and if the fans are interested in it, then we will look to make it happen. It was almost like he put some space between, like, we want to make this happen and kind of put it on the fans. So would it be shocking if they've run into a bit of a snag with KG behind the scenes, like a lot of other people have? KG front facing with the Wolves fans is very different than KG behind the scenes in some cases. KG has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way within the Timberwolves for years. And I think a lot of it just stems from him hating Glenn Taylor. But it didn't seem like they were ready to put that jersey up in the rafters second night of the season at Target Center, did it?
There's something
It's
going
gonna
on.
take some
There's
time.
there's something transpiring here that we don't know about as far as like, because, all the fans want is for him to show up, go to center court. The number goes up, right?
Have a night.
Yeah,
Sure.
like this does not need to be. They don't need to get
that's
in
why
bed
that's why
together.
it's on. I know, but that's why.
No, I agree.
The Wolves tried to do it for years when Glenn was the owner.
Right, but
It's
okay.
ultimately like the ball is in KG's court to put that jersey in the rafters.
Yeah,
Period.
right.
Fully in his court at this point. And
It just shouldn't
also,
be this hard.
there's a generation of fans that have not really grown up on KG as a Timberwolf. He's been a Celtic since 2008, and that was 17 years ago. So if you're like a 30-year-old fan or younger, I mean, Declan's right on that age line. You don't really remember the bulk of KG's Timberwolves career, and he has done. He came back for 2 years, and that was super fun for a minute, but then immediately was estranged from the organization again for a decade.
Yeah.
So he's been away from the organization and much more regarded as a Celtic for almost 20 years than a Timberwolf. And I think a lot of fans just interacting on social media and having conversations in person are kind of over it. And that's unfortunate. And some of that's on KG too.
Well, if he's dragging his feet now it's totally on Kevin.
100%.
Totally on Kevin. This is no longer a Glenn Taylor thing. It's no longer a Wolves thing. Like, if there's anything stopping a one-night ceremony, that's all I'm talking about. I don't care if
KG
he
is the
works for
one
team.
stopping that.
Well, then it's on him. And that's ridiculous on Kevin's part.
Yeah. So, yeah, just it is an interesting little press conference to end the week in Vegas, and they've done some more media since then. Jumped on ESPN's NBA Today, so they were kind of quiet for like a year and a half as the legal proceedings played out, but now they can actually come out and talk. And at some point, I'm sure we'll get Alex and or Mark on the podcast. Would love to do that. I'd love to talk baseball with Alex. We should get Alex on the Scorner Twin Show too.
Absolutely.
Talk some ball. Talk about the red hot Minnesota Twins.
Tell us how you kicked the Twins' ass for all the years that the Twins were good. Was that Mauer ball fair or
What was
foul?
your favorite 3-run homer off of Joe Nathan? Was it? Let us know. So, all right, it's a wrap on Flagrant Howls here. Tomorrow night, Timberwolves back in action. Summer League. We'll have more episodes for you later in the week here. Your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast. See you guys.